Welcome back, dear friend. People think a woman living alone is lonely, broken, incomplete. But what if the silence she lives in is actually building a version of her the world cannot control? What if every night alone, every tear nobody saw, every battle she fought without help, slowly transformed her into someone dangerous? Because the truth is, when a woman stops depending on validation, attention, or emotional rescue, something terrifying happens. She becomes emotionally free. And society does not know how to handle a woman who no longer needs permission to exist. Tonight, we are uncovering the psychology behind women who choose solitude, and why many of them become stronger, calmer, wiser, and almost impossible to manipulate. Stay until the end, because the final truth might completely change the way you see independence forever. At first, living alone feels heavy. The silence is loud, no messages, no footsteps, no one asking if you're okay. And that's when reality hits hardest. Most people spend their entire lives distracting themselves from their own mind. But when a woman lives alone, she is forced to meet herself, not the version she shows social media, not the version people expect, the real version, her fears, her insecurities, her regrets. And in those dark moments, one of two things happens. Either she breaks completely, or she rebuilds herself into someone stronger than before. Because pain has a strange effect on humans. If it doesn't destroy you, it educates you. And solitude becomes the classroom where emotional strength is born. There's something psychologically powerful about eating alone, sleeping alone, solving problems alone. It rewires the brain slowly. Dependence disappears. A woman who once needed reassurance starts trusting herself. A woman who feared loneliness starts protecting her peace. And suddenly, the opinions of people stop controlling her emotions. That's when the transformation becomes dangerous, because society benefits from insecure people. Insecure people buy validation. They chase attention. They tolerate disrespect because they're afraid to lose connection. But a woman who learns how to be alone becomes harder to manipulate. And that level of emotional independence scares people more than they admit. But let's be honest, strength is not built in comfort. Behind every emotionally strong woman, there is usually a story nobody knows. Maybe betrayal, maybe abandonment, maybe years of giving love to people who only took from her. And after enough disappointment, something inside her changes forever. She stops begging to be understood, stops chasing people, stops shrinking herself to make others comfortable, because eventually, exhaustion teaches what advice never could. And one night, sitting alone in complete silence, she realizes something powerful. I survived every painful moment they thought would destroy me. That realization becomes confidence, not loud confidence, dangerous confidence, the quiet kind. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody says out loud. Some people only feel powerful when others depend on them. That's why emotionally independent women confuse weak minds, because control stops working on them, guilt stops working, manipulation stops working, even attention stops controlling them. And when someone can no longer control your emotions, they call you cold. Maybe you're not cold. Maybe you just learned the difference between love and emotional slavery. A woman who enjoys her own company becomes selective. She no longer tolerates chaos just to avoid being alone. And that standard terrifies people who survive on emotional control. Living alone teaches one lesson most humans never fully understand. Peace is more valuable than attention. Read that again. Peace is more valuable than attention. Because attention is temporary. People clap for you one day, ignore you the next. But peace protects your soul. And once a woman experiences real peace, fake love becomes unbearable. Drama becomes exhausting. Toxic conversations feel childish. Suddenly, she would rather sit alone with a coffee and her thoughts than entertain people who drain her energy. That is not weakness. That is emotional evolution. But every strength has a shadow. Sometimes, after being hurt too many times, independence becomes isolation. The walls protecting her peace also block genuine connection. She tells herself she doesn't need anyone. And maybe that's true. But humans were never designed to feel nothing. The strongest people still need love, still need understanding, still need human warmth. The difference is, emotionally mature people no longer beg for it. They wait for what is real. And that patience makes them rare in a world addicted to temporary feelings. The real reason solitude transforms people is because it removes distractions. When nobody is around to save you, you discover who you truly are, your habits, your mindset, your discipline, your emotional control. And eventually, you stop looking for someone to complete you, you become complete first. That's why some women glow differently after years alone, not because life was easy for them, but because they survived battles silently. and silence creates depth, a depth most people will never understand. The scary part, once someone discovers peace within themselves, they become impossible to emotionally imprison again. So the next time you see a woman walking alone, smiling alone, building alone, don't assume she's lonely. You may be looking at someone who fought invisible wars and won, someone who turned pain into wisdom, someone who no longer needs the world's approval to feel worthy. Because the strongest souls are not always the loudest ones. Sometimes, they are simply the people who learned how to survive in silence. And if this video changed the way you see strength, solitude, and self-transformation, then subscribe to Next Level Mind and become part of a mindset that refuses to stay ordinary. Because here, we don't just watch videos, we evolve.